Hey, what's up, guys? My name is John Silva, and today we're going to create a game character. Now, since we don't have any specific game type, well, we're going to go ahead and do whatever I want. So let's go right ahead and. All right. So, first things first, I'm going to give some kind of mid-tone to the background and right away jump into. At this point, I'm letting my emotions go and just no real thinking, just shapes. That's what I'm mainly looking for. Interesting shapes. Um, I'm gonna keep on sketching and just drawing random stuff almost that are gonna feel like they could connect to one another. We want to surprise ourselves. Now I drew this kind of um, head thing with some crazy eyes on it. Since I was saying that it's a type of a MOBA kind of character, I'm I will eventually start thinking about what can the character do. That's like one of the most obviously important things, and also how it can be distinguished from other characters in terms of basic shapes, right? Um, if you're going to see the character mainly from a almost top view, it's very important what first shape comes first in terms of layers from top to bottom. Now, initially I just draw a sketch with the light kind of um, with a light color. And I'm not really looking for accuracy or um, any type of well drawn aspect to it. It's more about the essence. Is the character interesting? And do I like looking at him? Could I look at him for longer periods of time? Right, over and over and over again. It's always the same character. Um, would people like it? What is the main aspect uh, that it can be liked from him? So those kinds of thoughts go through my head firsthand. Now that I have a base, basically, I am starting to add a couple details here and there, but still it's all pretty big shapes. One thing I do like to do when creating characters, regardless for whatever game it is starting by the portrait. So what you're seeing right now is what I would consider a portrait, and eventually, later on, I'll want to basically extend the canvas and draw the rest of the character in a pose or something. Um, at this point, I'm dilly-dallying a little bit here and there, and I'm thinking exactly what is this character? Is it a humanoid? Now you see those kind of um, curvy shapes on his arm, and I'm trying to indicate that maybe he's a wood, like he's made of wood, right? A wooden kind of character, and obviously Asian inspired character. Give him 4 fingers. Now, what does he do? I'm looking at this arm and this kind of soles. I'm like, all right, I want to connect those two things. In game, the soles could look cool, like going around the character and stuff, and like visually appealing, because that's extremely important for players. Also, I'm like, okay, what abilities can he have with the spiritual world? Obviously, those are kind of like spiritual, ethereal um, creatures. I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna create a new layer as I did before, and maybe he can summon weapons or even shields. What type of character this is? Is it a support kind of character? So keeps the team alive, or tanky support, meaning that could he be the one that takes the most hits? etc. Um, Eventually, at first, I thought so, that he's a it could be a semi-healing and support kind of character. But looking at how fragile he looks, maybe he could be. But for this, from this moment, I thought that it's just safer to go the damage type of character or hero, as you may. At this point, yeah, as you can see, I already created a new layer, and with opaque black, I just went in and starting. Well, at this point, I'm just trying to make it look pretty, right? Adding to it and making it more visually appealing while maintaining that kind of, the character's essence. Sketching, one of the things that I been working more and more towards is keeping the sketch essence. It's so hard. Don't you guys agree? Like when you do a sketch and you're like, even if it's not perfectly looking, it still has that energy to it, right? And I believe it's a lot because of the textury kind of feeling that it gives from all those small strokes and like imperfect strokes, right? So I keep trying my clean lines a little messy with a little bit of texture, um, less perfect. And maybe I'm wrong, but to me it looks like it has more energy to it. Now, as I keep going, I'm thinking, all right, he has all these eyes, and are these eyes organic? Are they coming out of the character? Um, Initially, that was my idea, but I felt like it would be kind of weird to just have organic eyes coming out of a hood or something. So instead, I still kept one organic eye, which is the biggest one. Right now, I'm trying to look for some kind of expressions. This expression is cool, but I end up changing it back then because I like that blank stare that he can see through you basically, right? But the rest of the eyes, the idea is that it's kind of like what you call like a sticker almost, that it can also serve as a protection. And there you go. It's still I'm still thinking of a support kind of character, and those eyes could be part of an ability, for example. Um, I should also mention that this is not something that would be completely finished for several reasons. One of them being that we just don't have enough time within 30 minutes unless you want 5 parts. If you want 5 parts, then let us know. Let us know. But I believe most of you are interested in the creating part rather than the real final um, kind of good looking product, right? So here I'm trying to give kind of like a bend and tear to the rest of the eyes. Now looking at it, I could make some of the eyes more bigger and have... I did try to give each eye a personality. I'm trying to do something weird with that eye in there. um, yeah, I'm trying to give each eye kind of like a style and personality. I should honestly work a little bit more on it, looking back now. But as a sketch base, as something you can build on from, um, I believe we're in the right direction, because the idea is the important factor. It has to feel cool, right? It has to look cool. And thinking about what this character could do in game is also extremely important, right? Now, At the same time, since we don't have an art direction, we don't know if it's more on the real side of things or more cartoony. I went for more cartoony for two reasons. Number one, I love kind of like the MOBA games or any game that's more has a more cartoony look, and you can explore and exaggerate shapes better. Even in game, like when you try to imagine, go beyond the drawing, right? How does this character walk in the game? How does it move? Um, what kind of powers could he possibly have? And his design is gonna be tied down to what he does really a lot, obviously, or at least it should be obvious. Doing a little bit of cleanup here and there. Um, yeah, I went for the cartoony look, the exaggerated, like big shapes, not too much going in detail. At least not for now, right? We can always add more, right? But as long as the main shapes are in there and they're big enough so that on a smaller size, like if the character obviously is going to be smaller, um, then you should be good, because that is the most important thing. Now the thing that he has on top is kind of like almost kind of like a poncho, really. Doing a little bit of cleanup more. We still want it to look good, regardless whether we're doing this just as a concept or not. We try to make it as good as possible within the time given. Now, by adding small elements like this, I'm trying to connect the spiritual elements with the rest of his design. So, giving him little... Oh, right. Okay, so these little kind of bags that he has around it. Initially, I was thinking that I just wanted to have kind of like a petal. Since it's Asian based, I was thinking like petals from a sakura tree could be like at the edge, dangling around his poncho thing. But then it sort of became, it sort of turned into a bag that he has around. Now, inside of these bags, and this is where I start thinking a little bit more into detail, it could have salt. Now, salt has a lot to do, it's a lot of times connected with the spiritual world. So it could have a powder, and it could be part of this character's abilities, right? He could pull like one of those, and from that point on, it could throw in at an enemy. It could do an explosion. It could blind an enemy. Again, things that could things that could be part of his kit, so to say. Each one of those things could also mean that it could be souls from other players. Every time he kills a player, he gains one of those things, and it could be added onto the character visually. Maybe these ones are a bit too small, but if we could make them, we can always adjust them and make them bigger. But you see what I mean? Like creating a concept that can be built upon, can be changed, and give just give more ideas, right? Now working on that, the wood part, give a little bit texture. I didn't want him to be human. Obviously, he's humanoid, as many characters are, but not necessarily fully human. Like the only part that's not covered by clothes would be his arms, and obviously that automatically, since it's the only part you can see what's underneath, it becomes a focal point. So if it's a focal point, I want to make sure it's gonna be something less common. Later on, I was thinking of actually making the character more buffed, wider and stronger looking, because I was still going for that support tanky type of character, but we didn't end up going that way. Now, since this is just a line art, I do care anyways still about things like texture and so on, because the texture will be most likely texture painted, uh, like most games, these type of games are. And it is just to indicate to the 3D modeler who's gonna model it and paint the maybe paint the textures if the modeler himself will do it, then it can guide, give some kind of how rough that area could be. Adding in the other little bags. I'm not gonna lie, at one point these look like ball sacks. Was it intentional? No. Is it now? At this point, I'm just committed to it. At this point, I'm just committed to it. Like, I don't care. You can always change it later anyway. Spiritual ball sack. He just throws ball sacks at characters. What, do you think those are spirits around him? Think again. Alright, anyway. At this point, we are... yeah, at this point, I'm just fixing things, honestly. The arm is the only thing left, really. So before I actually finish it right away, I want to make sure I take care of some things that I might forget later on before moving into the coloring stage. Giving a couple more tears. And here we go to the arm. Again, just anything and everything can be can be connected to what the character will do. While the character must look like super cool or just really interesting, still the most important is what the character, the character's ability, obviously in game are. What are they gonna be, and how is it tied in with his design. Finishing that arm. Yeah, at this point I turn off the sketch layer because it's a little bit in the way, like it's shading my line art. in a way that I don't want. So I turn it off and I'll do the shading by myself, and the same with the texturing. I believe textures is also something very important uh, in a character, you know, in terms of visibility, whether it's any type of game, textures are also very, very important. And depending on the game engine, how are those textures going to be reflected or not, right? You don't want a ninja type of character be very shiny. You want very matte, rugged texture so that there's not much uh, reflection going on, so he won't be uh, as visually seen as opposed to audibly seen. Oh man. So mainly here, focusing on cleaning up, giving a little bit of texture because we still want to make it look good. Moving pieces around. And I still want that arm to do something, just not um, just not being uh, having that shield thing. So yeah, um, at this point, uh, we still have the rest of the character to do and coloring. Um, I believe we're out of time, so we're gonna see you in part 2. Hope you liked it so far, and yeah, see you later.